tonight on Y News.
Our position has never wavered. Give us the list if you have it, release it, do with it what you will, but it will really not affect the qualifications of the candidates.
The Commission on Elections says the inclusion of poll bets in the government's NARCO-LIST is not a ground for disqualification. President Rodrigo Duterte lashes out at opposition senatorial candidates during a campaign rally for the administration slate. The Alliance of Concerned Teachers asked court to dismiss the petition against alleged profiling of their ranks. And NHA demolishes PNP in battle for third, while AFP takes lead against Senate defenders in the best-of-3 final series. Good evening. The Commission on Elections states that the inclusion of the poll bets in the government's NARCO-LIST is not a ground for disqualification. Meanwhile, Comelec says that the printing of ballots for the May 13, 2019 midterm elections is most likely to be done 10 days earlier than April 25. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The Commission on Elections, or Comelec, had stated its position on the government's release of a list of politicians involved in illicit drugs even before the start of the barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections last year. Comelec spokesman Director James Jimenez reiterated that a candidate's inclusion on the so-called NARCO-LIST is not enough grounds for a poll bet's disqualification.
Our position has never wavered. Give us the list if you have it, release it, do with it what you will, but it will really not affect the qualifications of the candidates.
Jimenez added that the NARCO-LIST is not a final conviction on whether a certain candidate should be chosen or rejected by voters. Comelec Chairman Sheriff Abbas has earlier said that they will not meddle with the mandate of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency and the Department of the Interior and Local Government to release a list as a guide for voters. Comelec presumes that the candidates on the list remain innocent and the list will not serve as grounds to disqualify them.
Since it is not a final conviction, it cannot be disqualifying, right? At most, it can provide feedback to the voters. Why would you vote for someone who is suspected of being a criminal? That's the argument there. But again, the Comelec is not involved in making those arguments. Wala kaming position dyan.
And as the May 13 midterm elections are fast approaching, the poll body reported that as of today, they have printed 19,705,792 ballots. They are now preparing for the printing of the ballots to be used in Region 8 or Eastern Visayas.
This represents about 30% of the total ballot requirement. So, considering that we are now printing at peak production of more than 1 million per day, about 1.1 million per day, and the fact that the National Printing Office is scheduled to add another printer, then we expect to finish early.
The National Printing Office, or NPO, has been operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to hit the target and print 61 million ballots to be used in the midterm elections in May. The poll body will also add a new printer in the NPO for faster printing. They are expecting to complete the total number of ballots 10 days before the target date.
Ang target natin is actually, the expectation is to complete printing by April 25. It looks like we will be able to complete printing 10 days early.
The Comelec Office for the Overseas Voting, or Comelec OFOV, has also received the complete 3 million printed ballots to be packed and distributed to various countries with registered Filipino voters next week. Overseas absentee voting will run from April 13 to May 13, 2019. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The leadership of the Philippine National Police is in favor of the release of the list of narco politicians and of politicians who support the New People's Army ahead of the election day in May. Leah Ilagan explains why.
For Philippine National Police, or PNP Chief, Police General Oscar Albayalde, it is the right of the public to know the activities of the candidates they would vote. especially those who support the enemy of the state. This is why the PNP leadership is in favor of the release of the names of narco politicians and the list of politicians that support the New People's Army or NPA.
Kung yan naman ay validated, probably it's just fair for the Filipino people to know kung sino itong mga to. No? Yung kung sino yung sumusuporta sa mga lefties, kung sino ang sumusuporta sa rebellion. No? It's high time that the Filipinos should know the truth. No? Para naman magkaroon ng desisyon na maayos, makapag-decide ng maayos yung ating mga botante.
However, this is contrary to the statement of the Commission on Elections or Comelec. For the poll body, it is unfair and part of negative campaigning if the list is released before the election day. But General Albayalde said they will support the President's decision if he releases such a list.
It will be up to the Commander-in-Chief. It will be up to the decision of the Commander-in-Chief. If he decides to divulge the list, then we will support his decision. No? Depende yan sa Presidente.
From the point of view of the voters, it will also be unfair if you do not tell them exactly your investigation relative to those involved in the drug industry. And if they're elected and then suddenly their place is contaminated with drugs, they will blame the government. Why didn't you tell us this? You've known this pala all the time. So, balance natin.
The PNP chief also added that the list must be based on validated information.
Get substantial evidence or concrete evidence for blood, even documentary evidence. Puro chismis kung minsan, testimonial evidence, no? You have to get documentary evidence talaga or physical evidence na talagang ma-involve yung tao na yon.
It can be noted that the president had previously said he would issue a list of politicians involved in illegal drugs. The Department of the Interior and Local Government, on the other hand, had released the number of politicians who support the New People's Army. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
President Duterte continues to campaign for the administration's senatorial candidates in various parts of the country. In a campaign rally in Zamboanga City, the president hit the candidates of the opposition slate. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
Ipalit mo dyan sa yung otso diretso papuntang impyerno. Totoo lang, hindi ako na walang ginawa yung mga tao na puro criticize.
This was President Rodrigo Duterte's statement last night while campaigning for the senatorial candidates of his party, the PDP Laban in Zamboanga City. Malacanang said, however, the president was just joking when he said it. As the president introduced his candidates, he also started criticizing Ocho Derecho, the opposition senatorial slate.
Nagawa pa na ticket otso diretso? Hilba, makalintal, abogado. Makalintal, abogado. Abogado ka lang kung may pera ka, papasok yan. Wala kang pera. Walang makalintal na abogado na si Bam, si Tanyada. Tanyada leftist yan eh. Alam ninyo, sinong tigabigay ng sakit ng ulo? Di ba sila? Ayaw nilang admitin na NPA sila, pero sila ang nagsusuporta. Lahat ng NPA sila ang abogado. And until now, we are in trouble.
According to the palace, President Duterte is not violating any law with his statement. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Salvador Panelo argued the chief executive has the right to campaign against the opposition candidates. Secretary Panelo also denied allegations that this is the administration slate's new strategy.
He's doing his
What?
feel.
Here?
Feel.
Feel.
Ang feel niya, hindi karapat dapat itong mga kalaban ng kandidato niya. Para namang masama doon, lahat naman, kung yung mga senador sa kabila, binabanatan din siya. Ganun talaga yung eleksyon.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV, News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Political parties continue their campaign rallies in various areas today. Hugpong ng pagbabago campaign in several parts of Metro Manila while the opposition party attended a debate in Quezon City. Grace Casin explains why.
Hugpong ng pagbabago chairperson Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio visited her party's campaign rally held in Pasay City today. But only 2 of the 13 candidates on the slate were present, Jiggy Manicad and Ronald Bato de la Rosa. They also went to Mandaluyong and Taguig cities. Mayor Duterte has expressed her stand on the issue of the release of a NARCO-LIST. She said it is only fair for a candidate included on the list to make sure they have an opportunity to respond to accusations. She adds that there is no law prohibiting the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA to release a list of narco politicians. On the other hand, 8 derecho senatorial candidates Gary Alejano, Bam Aquino, Chel Jokno, Samira Gutok, Romy Macalintal and Erin Tanyada showed up in a debate conducted in Ateneo de Manila University today, while Mar Rojas campaigned in Tala, Caloocan City. Meanwhile, administration's party PDP Laban is set to conduct its campaign in Bangued Abra tomorrow, expected to be led by President Rodrigo Duterte. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Alliance of Concerned Teachers appealed to the court to issue a temporary restraining order to prohibit the police from conducting a profiling on several of their members. But the Philippine National Police say they will file cases and recommend revocation of license of ACT members who will be proven to be connected to the New People's Army. Mai Bermudez tells us why.
The Alliance of Concerned Teachers, or ACT, has asked the Court of Appeals, or CA, to reverse its dismissal of their petition on the conduct of the so-called profiling of the Philippine National Police, or PNP, on its members. ACT wants the court to issue a writ of preliminary injunction or a temporary restraining order, or TRO, for the alleged police harassment on several ACT members. In their motion for reconsideration, they said the PNP is refusing to cooperate and give them certified true copies of memorandums ordering their men to identify teachers connected to ACT. The PNP, on the other hand, said the profiling was done to identify teachers who were connected to the New People's Army, or NPA. The teachers group assails the alleged unconstitutionality and illegal conduct of the profiling, which allegedly violates human rights, freedom of association and assembly, freedom of expression, and privacy. They say some of their officials are now facing harassments and threats.
Kailangan pong i-consider ng Court of Appeals na yung sitwasyon ng mga teachers natin at nanggaling na rin naman sa PNP, sa liderato ng PNP, na una ina-allege nila na confidential ito. So in short, meaning hindi sila makakapaglabas ng certified true copies nito. And therefore, impossible condition para sa mga petitioners yung pag-produce ng CTC.
PNP Chief Police Director General Oscar Albayalde meanwhile said the group has the right to file a motion for reconsideration after the court's dismissal of the case versus the police. The PNP chief, however, emphasized that once they get enough evidence that the organization is a front of the leftist group, they will not hesitate to file cases and recommend the revocation of the ACT members' licenses.
Karapatan naman nila yan. Karapatan din namin mag-file ng kaso sa kanila. If we will be able to get, sabi ko nga, physical evidence on their participation sa rebellion, we will not hesitate to file a case against them, and we will not hesitate to file pag-revoke ng licenses ng mga yan.
The CA had earlier dismissed the petition over the group's failure to include certified true copies of the PNP memo. Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The NHA Builders takes one step higher than their last achievement in the League of Public Servants. Meanwhile, the Senate defenders must defeat the AFP Cavaliers in Game 2 at the Big Dome in the best-of-3 UNTV Cup Final Series to be able to defend the title. Vincent Arboleda tells us why.
For the first time, the NHA Builders wins third place in the League of Public Servants, one place higher as they finished fourth in Season 6. This after the PNP responders collapsed when Coach Bennett Palad's side stunned the Cops and ended the ball game with a 3-point advantage, 73-70 at the Pasig City Sports Center on Sunday.
Buti, na-break namin yung jeans. Lagi kaming fourth, di ba? Ngayon, third naman. One step higher. So, maybe season 8, lumaban na kami sa championship. Ngayon, nagkakaroon na sila ng konting teamwork. Teamwork and unity. Nagkakaroon din ng konting confidence. Saka nawawala na yung init nila ng ulo o emotional nila sa mga referees.
Do lumaban nga, pero na-short pa rin kami dun sa depensa namin eh. Yung adjustment namin, nag-click naman, pero siyempre yung mga breaks of the game, di namin makakontrol yun eh.
Alvin Vito was hailed as the best player of the game after making 31 points, 13 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1 assist, and 1 steal. And in the best-of-3 final series, two-time champion AFP Cavaliers defeated defending champion Senate Defenders in a come-from-behind win in Game 1 of the UNTV Cup Finals 76-73. Jerry Lumusod, who made 14 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 block, and Eugene Tan, who contributed 18 points, were both hailed as best players of the game. Coach Mike Fermin admits there were lapses in his players' performance that led to a loss.
Instead na kami yung mag-build ng tempo ng game, sumunod kami sa tempo nila eh. Nag-slow down sila, kami nag-slow down din. Yung first half, tumatakbo kami, that's why we were able to build a comfortable lead. Pero yun na nga, lapses on the end game.
On the other hand, Cavaliers coach Sonny Manukat plans on lifting the league trophy once again this season.
Sabi ko nga sa kanila, never give up. Diba? Attitude. Sabi ko, two-time champion tayo. Nandito na tayo sa finals. Hindi natin pwede pabayaan. All my players paid off. Sabi ko, continue lang yung sistema natin. Yung game plan natin. Hopefully, we paid off. Credit to the CNA team. Dahil yung defense nila no first half, amazing. Okay? Nakuha nila yung stop namin. Pero at the same time, at least, second half, naka-recover kami. Sinuwerte, luck.
Game 2 of the best-of-3 UNTV Cup Season 7 final series between the AFP Cavaliers and the Senate Defenders is set on March 11 at the Big Dome. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Up next on Y News. Oil firms to adjust pump prices on Tuesday. The Bureau of Fire Protection lists necessary fire safety equipment that high-rise buildings should have. And know why faulty electrical outlets are common causes of fires in residential houses. Thank you for keeping me company in the first part of Y News. More reasons behind the stories with Angelo, Castro III, and William Thio after this quick break. I'm Rheena Villamor-Camara. Good evening.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up from where Rheena Villamor-Camara left off. I'm Angelo, Castro III, and here are the headlines.
Mindanao, which is the most productive land in the entire Philippines and the best situated because there is no typhoon in Mindanao so that you can plant anything and it can feed the entire nation.
President Rodrigo Duterte sees Mindanao as the future food basket of the country. Agriculture Secretary Manuel Piñol assures farmers that the effects of the rice tariffication law are only temporary. Complainants assail the DOJ's resolution dismissing charges against Health Secretary Francisco Duque in relation to the Deng-Vaxia controversy. And know why faulty electrical outlets are among the common causes of fires in residential houses. What you are seeing right now is the live traffic situation along Commonwealth Tandansora. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority sealed off the area this weekend with concrete and plastic barriers. Signs were placed on both lanes to inform motorists of the closure and lead them to two nearby U-turn slots. The Tandansora flyover will be demolished to give way to the rails and a station of the MRT-7, which will link Quezon City and San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. Oil firms are set to implement adjustments on the prices of petroleum products this week. According to local oil industry players, the price of diesel will be slashed by 10 centavos per liter, kerosene by 35 centavos per liter, while the price of gasoline will increase by 10 centavos a liter. The pump price adjustment will take effect on Tuesday, March 5. The minimal fuel price movement this week will be implemented to reflect the prices in the international market, the oil players said. President Rodrigo Duterte is confident that Mindanao is a big help for the entire country to have enough food supply. Here's why from Dante Amento.
President Rodrigo Duterte believes that the agricultural sector in Mindanao must be strengthened for the country's food security. The president cited a good climate in the region. A wide variety of crops could also survive in Mindanao as it is not often affected by typhoons.
Mindanao, which is the most productive land in the entire Philippines, and the best situated because there is no typhoon in Mindanao, so that you can plant anything and it can feed the entire nation. Pag wala ang Mindanao, we will be forever importing rice. Do not believe in that we can be rice sufficient.
The president also stressed that it is not good for the Philippines to rely on neighboring countries in terms of food supply. And until the agricultural sector in the region is strengthened, the country would continue to import rice, he added. The president also emphasized it is necessary to stop the violence in the region to boost the region's agri-sector.
Kailangan to make Mindanao productive, we have to stop the trouble. The communists must come to terms with reality na hindi talaga sila manalo kailanman. We have been fighting for 53 years now. And yet, ni isang probinsya, ni isang barangay, hindi lang Manila mahawakan.
Philippine Statistics Authority data shows that rice production for January to December 2018 at 19.07 million metric tons declined slightly by 1.1% compared with the 2017 output. Probable palay production from January to March 2019 based on standing crop may increase by 0.49% from the previous year's level of 4.62 million metric tons. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue, Zamboanga City.
The Department of Agriculture accepts the challenge of implementing the rice tariffication law. Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol said that the impact of the new law on the agriculture sector is only temporary. Ray Pelayo explains why.
The Department of Agriculture accepts the fact that the implementation of the rice tariffication law has a huge impact on local farmers. Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol clarified, however, that the negative effects of the measures will only be short-term. This is his assurance amid concerns from rice traders of the possible income loss, what with the availability of imported rice in the local market, leaving their stocks out of consumers' choices. According to the Agriculture Department, about 1.8 million metric tons of imported rice will arrive in the country as part of the government's out quota importation. These had been allowed when problems of rice supply and prices surfaced, causing much more burden on consumers.
Sinabi kong temporary yun kasi wala pa naman kasing epekto yung tariffication per se, no? Doon sa presyohan. Kanya lang kinabahan yung mga traders nung marinig nila na papasok na yung important liberals, kinabahan, no?
At present, palay sells at 15 pesos per kilogram in some parts of the country, while that of higher quality sells at 20 pesos per kilogram. The Agriculture Secretary also noted that the agency is expecting about 30 billion pesos from the government to fund the rice program, including the 10 billion peso duties to be collected from imported rice that will enter the country. The DA said it is ready to implement the rice tarification law after it explained the measure to farmers and concerned stakeholders last week. Piñol also asserted the department will continue to provide solutions and assist farmers in whatever problem the agriculture sector might face while he is still in office. He pointed out that the decision on whether he remains as secretary or not depends on President Rodrigo Duterte.
This is a position that was given to me by the president. If he feels that I am no longer useful, it's his choice. I mean, it's a decision. Wala naman tayong effort na to hang on to a position if the appointing authority feels that you're not needed anymore.
Meanwhile, the DA has formed a task force that will focus on the expected effects of El Nino in the country. Secretary Piñol said that they might opt to conduct cloud seeding and distribute rice supply to affected residents, especially the tribal communities. The DA has also readied its loan and insurance programs for farmers who might suffer the effects of the phenomenon. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The first batch of complainants questioned the dismissal of charges against Health Secretary Francisco Duque III. They say he should also face the court. Maya Bermudez will tell us why.
More than a year has passed since his daughter died, but it still hurts for Ramil Pestilos whenever he remembers his daughter Angelica, who died in December 2017. His child is just one of the first patients whose deaths have been linked to Dengvaxia. Ramil is also one of the parents who had filed the first batch of complaints against government officials who they think should be held liable for the said deaths.
Napakamahal naman na akong anak ko. Naalala ko pa rin hanggang ngayon. Kahit wala na siya. Ito pa ang anak ko.
Ramil and several other parents are dismayed by the resolution released by the Justice Department last Friday. Although the DOJ indicts former Health Chief Janet Garin, several officials from the Food and Drug Administration, the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine, and Sanofi Pasteur, the current head of the Health Department, Secretary Francisco Duque III, who administered the mass vaccination during the time when their children were inoculated with Dengvaxia, has been cleared of charges. Ruby Hedia's daughter was one of those inoculated with the vaccine on December 17, 2017, days after Duque's reappointment.
Ano yan, binayaran sila? Dalawang anak ko na injekan, pero hindi isinama si Duque.
This is also the cry of Darwin Bataan, the father of the 13-year-old Justin Art, who was vaccinated under Duque's term. He asks the DOJ to review its decision.
Dapat kasuhan niya si Duque na yan. Walang, anong kinakatwiran niya, nasa Marawi siya. Wala daw siyang alam, hindi pwede siya. Siya yung Department of Health eh.
The father of 13-year-old Ray Justin Alimagno also questions the dismissal of their complaint due to lack of evidence.
At yung sa anak ko, bakit na-dismiss? Lahat naman karamihan naman ng mga batang na-injectionan, walang Dengvaxia card. Basta na lang sila nagtuturok, walang consent ng magulang.
The Department of Health still awaits the official copy of the DOJ resolution and asks the public to pave way for the recently signed Universal Healthcare Law. In a text message, former Health Secretary Janet Garin says she respects the investigation panel's decision. She said she worries more on its effect on the current immunization program, adding that the government should focus more on saving lives than on politicizing issues. Aside from Duque, the DOJ has moved to dismiss charges against officials of Zuellig Pharma, the distributor of the controversial vaccine. Maya Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The statement made by United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo of assuring America's support to the Philippines in the West Philippine Sea is not new. According to a defense analyst, former United States officials had already stated this kind of support to the Philippines before under the current treaty between the two countries. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte, in his speech in Zamboanga City yesterday, expressed his sentiments over the mutual defense treaty between the Philippines and the United States. For the president, it would not be easy for the U.S. to provide assistance to the Philippines in case of armed attacks in the West Philippine Sea. The president's statement comes after United States Secretary of State Michael Pompeo's pronouncement of assurance of America's support to the Philippines in the West Philippine Sea. However, according to a defense analyst and member of the Institute for Policy, Strategy and Development Studies, Pompeo's assertion is nothing new.
Kung ano sinabi ni Pompeo was exactly mentioned also by earlier American officials, Thomas Hubbard to be exact.
Custodio said that to ensure the country's security and protection of its right in the West Philippine Sea, it would be better to strengthen its own capabilities.
Improve mo yung logistic capabilities ng bawat bases there, no, or bawat installations, no? Improve mo yung nan.
For Custodio, it is not necessary to detail or amend the current mutual defense treaty between the two countries.
The treaty itself is a good enough message that if China attacks us, then they will have to face the U.S.
It can be noted that Malacanang has asserted the need to review the provisions of the treaty if they are still suitable to the Philippines' current situation. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
For the first time since his assumption to office, Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir bin Mohamad will embark on an official visit to the Philippines from March 6 to 7. Malacanang says this aims to reciprocate the visit of President Rodrigo Duterte to Malaysia last year. The two leaders will have a bilateral meeting to enhance the ties of the two countries on political and economical aspect as well as people-to-people exchanges. Presidential spokesperson Panelo also says the issue on Sabah may also be discussed. Sabah is among the territories being claimed and wanted to be recovered by the Philippines from Malaysia.
Well, everything is possible naman when you meet a head of a state.
And do you think it's necessary this time since we've not been talking about this for so long?
Kaya nga, everything is possible.
Why do gadgets and appliances often cause fire? Here's Monokson to explain why.
Faulty wiring is one of the most common causes of electrical fires. Another is the explosion of an electrical appliance that overheated. There are also many instances when gadgets such as cell phones and apparatuses like e-cigarettes or vape explode. Some mobile phones explode during calls, while others burst inside a user's pocket. Even vapes might shatter while in use. New technology gadgets undergo many tests. Problems only occur when the gadget's battery gets punctured or when its cooler fails to function properly. Based on studies, it is safe to use a cell phone even if its battery is being charged, but using a defective charger is dangerous. Inside the Meralco Power Lab, personnel study not just power efficiency, but also the safe use of appliances. Meralco advises families in residential areas to make sure that their appliances and gadgets have proper wiring.
Wala yung tinatawag na frayed o yung may tama, no? Na-exposed yung wiring. Maaari yan mag-cause ng electrical fire at maka-aksidente pa sa inyong mga tahanan, no?
All households are also advised to avoid using octopus or multiple connections that often causes overloading of electrical power.
8-9 na sinasaksak mo, pinagkakasya mo dung pinipilit mong absorb nung isang outlet, ay wag ho natin gagawin yan kasi pag nag-overload yan, iinit yan, pag uminit yan, maaring magkaroon na sunog dahil syempre liliyab yan eh.
Illegal connection is another big no-no.
Ang ganyang gawain madalas nung mga nakaraang pagsusuri namin nagiging sanhi ng sunog. So kagagawa ng isang tao na perwisyo buong komunidad.
To ensure the safety and quality of an electronic appliance, acquire only from accredited stores and manufacturers. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue.
Meanwhile, let us know the necessary fire safety equipment that high-rise buildings must have to minimize the possible extent of damages in case fire happens. Joanano will tell us why.
The construction of huge and high-rise buildings such as condominiums and commercial and office spaces for rent is in demand these days. But how safe are these buildings in case of a fire incident? What are the equipment and safety measures in case people get trapped inside a condo or a tall building? In the previous years, the Bureau of Fire Protection or BFP recorded various fire incidents involving condominium units and other high-rise buildings. In 2015, the BFP recorded more than 17,000 fire cases nationwide. Casualties have also been recorded. According to the BFP, these high-rise structures should pass their fire safety inspection and must also acquire fire safety inspection certificate from the respective city or municipal marshals before they make a space in the building available for occupancy. Apart from this, the BFP also requires high-rises to have complete fire safety equipment. An example of a high-rise building is the 27-story DILG Napolcom office located on the corner of EDSA Quezon Avenue. The building has all the necessary fire safety equipment. Fire extinguishers and fire hose cabinets are positioned beside doors and elevators on every floor. Smoke detectors are also attached on ceilings. Fire exits are clear of obstructions so people inside the building can easily get out from the office in case of fire. There are fire alarms at fire exits that can be used in case of emergency. The building is also equipped with water sprinklers that automatically discharge water to extinguish fire. Emergency lights are also available in case of sudden power outage. Evacuation plans are also posted on each floor of the building. A fire drill is conducted monthly to train employees on the proper procedure in case of fire. Authorities once again remind the public of the importance of having complete fire safety equipment, especially in high-rise structures, so as to minimize the possible extent of damages in case of fire. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Up next on Y News. Alabama tornadoes kill at least 23 and cause catastrophic damage.
It's honor and pride for us to meet with this spaceship here on board International Space Station and become
SpaceX Dragon capsule nails historic docking at the International Space Station. And the reasons why young prisoners in the United Kingdom are willing to swap crime for coffee. And those are the reasons behind the stories in the second part of our newscast. Y News returns with William Thio. I'm Angelo Castro III. Good evening.